Hi, I'm Wendy Richards.
And I'm Christina Irene. Welcome back to Hidden Disability Conversation. Today we are going to be talking about terms used for disability identity. But first, Wendy, I want to ask you today, what's your splatus?
I'm a moped. I'm doing really well.
Yes.
I went out today and did feel it in my lungs, but pulled it back in, reined it in, and I'm doing really well. So that's my splatus today.
That's wonderful. Very happy to hear that.
And what's your splatus?
Well, buckle up. Are you ready?
I am.
I'm a sedan today, which it's good. It's good because I've been pickup truck, tractor trailer, freight train up to Asteroid for like the past 2 months, and I'm
Okay.
finally out of it. So, we're going to be talking about disability identity.
When I think of identity, I think of the person. Person first language to me is when we always put the person first. The person is central and they are the ones that we are talking about. The disability is secondary. When I am meeting with a student, I'm always putting the student first, their name, we're talking, then the disability comes after that.
Just to really, really simplify it, person first language is saying person with a disability instead of disabled person. Literally, the word person comes first. So, person with a disability. So, it's a way of saying that this person has a disability, but as you just said, it's also a style of interaction and making sure you have this is a whole person. This person is not a diagnosis.
Exactly, and I think people really appreciate that, although there are many people with a disability who identify in another way.
Identity first language is saying disabled person. And there's two different like there's definitely like feelings behind the choice that a person makes. And we were told years and years and years ago that person first is correct, that you must say person first, use person first language. But that's changing.
It is changing, and I think it's a very personal decision, but if you look at research, there are many people out there that wanna put their disability first.
Mm.
I think when I read it and I look at it, it really gives a sense of pride about their disability. I believe that that is one of the reasons why people want to put their disability first, because it is such a big part of their identity
Mhm.
that there is no shame and they want to put it out there. And I really like that too. What do you think about that being, identity first, person first?
I really like what the way you said pride. Like,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of words that people in the disability community, I would maybe not borrow because nobody owns them, but share with the LGBTQ plus community. Passing, coming out, we could say. And it's just one of those things where the big picture thing we have in common is that this identity that we have is one that is not always noticeable when you look at somebody, especially as we're talking about hidden disabilities or invisible disabilities. We need to tell you that this is our identity. And I think that's why we share some of those words. But pride is a word too. And, this is where I'm going to be publishing this in August. But this right currently it's July. It's Disability Pride Month. Um, and it is all about coming out and coming to terms with that identity to the point where we embrace it. It's not just coming to terms with it, but it's also like, I love who I am with this. Even sometimes I love who I am because of this. And my disability, I think, has made me a stronger, more interesting person. And that's all that's like a choice. I would choose to not have disability at all. That would be
Right.
better. But me having it, I want to embrace it. I mean, I literally make my living from it. So I have some feelings about using identity first language, and I actually recently read an article that came right out and said, it was a great article and it was written for Disability Pride Month. But it came right out and said that the correct thing to say is identity first, to say disabled person, that that is now correct. And
Hmm.
that was the one part of the article that I really didn't agree with, because I think the correct thing to say is mirror the language somebody uses for themselves.
Absolutely. The students that I'm working with at the college level, I think they're just starting their journey into embracing their identity as a student with a disability. I think K through 12, I hear it a lot from my students. They want to let it go. They want to never even identify as a student with a disability. When they come and meet with me, they'll see pictures of individuals with disabilities, famous people, and I guess one of the terms I really love, and I believe Temple Grandin said this, was disable the label. And by normalizing having a disability, it I think it frees people. And when we talk about it so freely, yeah, I have a disability, you have a disability. And when we talk about it and normalize it, it really helps people feel more at ease. And I believe it helps them want to disclose because many times when we say disability, we get an image in our head. It could be somebody who has a seeing eye dog, who uses a cane, who uses a wheelchair, and then we really that is just one part of a disability. And that's why this channel is so important because when we look at people around us, many people have hidden disabilities.
Yes. I'd say what are we saying? Maybe 3 out of 4 people with a disability, it's a hidden disability, right?
Absolutely.
Not more. I mean, it could be like 9 out of 10. I want to talk about what we use and what
Mhm.
our personal preferences are. And you kind of asked me that, but I was like answering it in a different direction.
That's okay.
But I want to tell you, I use them interchangeably. I use person first language out of respect for the tradition of person first language and to keep, that available for folks who want to use it, because
Mhm,
I know that as a speaker, I'm modeling like the what to do and what not to do. So I do want to keep that present for people who choose to use that.
mhm.
Um, as far as my personal preferences, I will say person with a disability, but I will say disabled person a lot as well. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay being called a disabled person. I think I live in such a way that it's clear that it's not my entire identity. And also, it's just faster and simpler to say. On it, I mean, that's it. Like, it is so much easier to just say, "Yeah, I'm disabled," than "I'm a person with a disability." And by the time I
And
finish the sentence, they're gone.
and one of the things that just popped into my mind was, are we using certain phrases or terms to make other people feel more comfortable?
And that was the next point that I was going to make. So I'm
Yeah.
also kind of like really owning and making it like bold, because I really personally
Mhm.
do not like the movement towards saying person with a difference.
Okay.
Because if I'm different and not disabled, then you're going to feel less compelled to give me the modification that I need
Ah.
to understand that things are different for me. And I really personally don't like it when people say, oh, everybody has something. I find that really dismissive. And I just want to be like, well, why don't you try my something for a day and see what that's like?
Right.
Um,
I'll
and
trade your something for my something.
yeah, like no, no, no. That's why with my splat system, which if
Yeah.
anybody hasn't popped onto my website to see what that's about yet, it's the just as, every day we feel like we've been run over by something. It's just a different vehicle on different days. And I try
Yeah.
to make it clear that, as your Splatus is a moped
Mhm.
today, that not everybody has a Splatus. Like there are people who just don't feel like they're run over by something. So moped is not like the best way to feel. The best way to feel is to not feel run over. So,
Well, we hope that that it happens that way, and I do love your system. I think it's great to be able to put some humor, and I know that you and I agree that humor is really important. Yes, disability is very serious, hidden disabilities as well, but to put a little humor into it, I think is always good. And that's one of the things I appreciate about your books as well.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, so how do you feel about that idea of people like using terms to soften our experience? You know,
Hmm.
is it for us or is it really for them?
Yeah, I think people like to be comfortable. They do not like to be uncomfortable. And I will say, I think I've said to a person, well, I have a disability. And that is something that I do disclose to my students because I want to make them feel comfortable as well.
Yeah.
And I want to model what I feel is um, just a really easy way of entering the conversation and kind of taking away that stigma that's what we're trying that's what I try to do when I meet with students. So I guess when I say I have a disability, I have had people look at me and really? And they wonder, well, what is my disability? Um, and just real quickly, part of my identity of COPD, having COPD, the other negative stigma that people that first comes to mind is, oh, she did it to herself. She was a
Yeah.
smoker. This was kind of something she brought on herself. And actually, it isn't. It was environmental, severe asthma that just, you know, keeps getting more severe and affects my lung functions. So I think we have a lot of work. Disability identity is one of the things. Understanding that not everyone's disability is their fault. I think that's another important, really important thing to think about.
Well, gosh, I mean, even if it is though, and this is
Yeah.
something that I talk about in my program is like, okay, so maybe we did cause our own disabilities, some of us.
Mhm.
Like my fibromyalgia, I triggered with my actions. Like I was working 3 jobs, not managing my stress, and boom, I
Mm,
have this condition I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And
right.
there are a lot of conditions that are triggered by personal actions. And but I still don't think that people should be shamed or blamed for that because we are evolving people. We grow, we change, we make better choices. Like, obviously I'm divorced. So I've been twice. So I've made bad choices, but let's not judge and shame me for, the rest of my life because of something I did in my past. And
Right.
that's just as obnoxious as when my mom picks on me for stuff I did when I was 7. It's like, what do you call yourself? Do you call yourself disabled or a person with a disability?
I'm a person with a disability, and I think it's just because that's a habit. If it were to change, the language culturally were to change, and I felt it was acceptable to me personally, I would change with it. But I'm okay with I'm a person with a disability.
I might have to cut this into 2 episodes.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.